I mean, I've rolled some crazy hands in blackjack where it was like, because I took the win in Vegas for like 4 million just playing blackjack, right? Not all in one day, of course, but over a number of years. And some of the hands I've done, I've literally almost went into like cardiac, you know. And the reason I did it at the time anyway, I found other means of kind of itching this scratch that I have. The thing for me back in those days when I used to play blackjack and stuff like that, I didn't do it for the money. I did it for the kind of the excitement, the adrenaline junkie rush. 100%. Like, yeah, because I needed it. I really needed it. Like, I don't get that on stage anymore. It's like yeah, it's like smoking weed. You know what I mean? You start smoking weed when you're say 18 or 19 or whatever, and then you're in your 40s and you're still smoking. You're not getting nearly as you did back in the day. The same thing happens with, you know, being on stage and stuff like that. You get up there, you're nervous, you're sweaty, you're pissing your pants, and you're always like, you know, and it's a pure adrenaline rush like when you're on stage. But after your like 400 show, it's like it's nothing. It's nothing. You know, you get up there, it's just like it's not there anymore. And then I started doing the blackjack thing, and then that kind of filled in that hole for me, and it was like, oh my god, this is it. And it can get scary with blackjack big time, you know, especially when you're like, you know, basically like, you know, working your way up to like things that could really damage you, you know, like in terms of like losing it or winning it or benefit you. And yeah, and then it was cars after that, you know what I mean? You know, adrenaline chasing, you know, driving cars really fast, and now I feel very comfortable behind a high powered vehicle because I know I'm not going to lose control. Or you know, of course there's always a chance that, you know, that could happen, but like I feel more comfortable in cars where it's like a lot of my friends come over sometimes and we just hang out, and they're like, hey, let's go get coffee. And I'm like, cool, you want to drive the McLaren? They're like, oh, really? And I'm like, well, yeah, it's just like driving a normal car. Just don't think about it, you know. But they get in, and then you know, they're getting out of the driveway. They're doing like 30 miles an hour, like with their white knuckles on the wheel. I'm like, but you know what I mean? That's that adrenaline kicking in because they're like, you know, this is a lot of car. No. And it's like, okay, but like for me, that's gone. First time I drove a really expensive car, I drove the manager of XS, Jesse Waits, left his Ferrari at some hotel in LA, but he was in Vegas. And then I was telling him about how I got my driver's license, and he was like, oh, do you want to borrow my car? And I was like, the Ferrari? And he's like, yeah, it's parked over here. You can borrow it for a week if you want, if you're staying in LA. And I was like, oh, okay. Dude, I got behind the wheel of his car and I start driving it out of the hotel, and I was like same guy, like white knuckle, easy on the gas. Like now I can get behind anything, and it's just like, you know, I'm a dopamine addict, 100%.